Welcome to the Family Banking Show with your hosts Rob, Derek, and John, where we dive into the world of the infinite banking concept and discuss personal banking strategies to secure your legacy and build generational wealth. We're glad you're here, and we hope this episode serves you well.
If you're interested in learning more about setting up your own family banking system, send an email to thefamilybankingshow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Family Banking Show. We are your hosts, Derek, Rob, and John. And guys, as we get started this episode, I'd just like to remind our listeners, if you'd be so kind to help us out, like, sharing, subscribing to this podcast, and wherever you're absorbing this content, that would greatly help out our channel and help us to continue growing and serving more and more families throughout the entire United States. And we are in the lovely state of Minnesota. Guys, how's it going this week?
Pretty good. It's a day of mourning. Our
Those
Timberwolves got their butt kicked.
It was brutal. Did you watch the whole game?
Until like the last 3 minutes when they just basically all the starters left and sat down. It was bad. OKC.
Was this game 4 or game 5?
5.
5.
Did we win game 4?
We won game 3.
Yeah.
3.
So we're done and out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why I got actually on game 3 was talk a little. This is NBA podcast. Talk a little. But it smacks of WWE when a team gets beat 2 games in a row, then they come home and they win by 42.
Yeah.
Come on. And then they get beat and they get beat bad next 2 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little fishy.
Yeah, it's somebody was just trying to keep more viewers.
Yep. But season's over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Oklahoma is legit. They don't have any weaknesses. That's a fun team to watch, actually.
yeah.
And their star player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, great guy. At least it seems. I don't know him
It
personally.
appears, yeah.
Very
it
well
appears.
spoken, married guy, so very family oriented and always talks about his teammates. So yeah, if there's anybody to root for that isn't, your home team, I'd definitely jump on that bandwagon.
Yep, same here.
Well, yes, it is a day of mourning. So now we move on to the Twins and the Vikings, and I think that's about it right now. That's all that's really playing. I'm not a big soccer fan, so I'm not sure if you guys know if the soccer teams are doing well or not, but it's a good time of year to stay outside if you can. So, All right, guys. Hey, in this episode, we're going to be focusing in on risk tolerance and the value of remaining patient. And so, Rob, I'm going to have you cue us off here. Talk a little bit about what do we mean by risk tolerance, and how do we approach the subject of investing and risk?
Yeah, well, first off, I'll start off by saying we are not investment advisors. We don't give investment advice. Please talk to your certified financial planner. But we can give, opinions of on investing in a broad sense. But yeah, in general, risk tolerance is the way I look at it is how much risk are you willing to take on an investment? How much risk can you tolerate? Does it keep you up at night? Does it, are you always checking it nonstop to see where you're at? What kind of is it? Is it stressing you out? And so, and often the rule of thumb is the traditional, like the way the financial world tells you is that if you want to be successful with an investment, you got to take more risk. More risk equals more success. And what I love about the infinite banking concept and utilizing, dividend paying whole life insurance policies that are designed for early cash value, like Derek and John and I do, is that gives you that financial base. It's an and asset as you've probably all heard, so that's your financial base, but then that gives you a vision, a pathway to success because all you have to do is just pay premium. It's as simple as that. You're not tied to the market. It's guaranteed to go up, never go down. You can borrow against it without ever affecting the growth. You get tax deferred growth. And you get a death benefit, right? And so that's what I love about an infinite banking policy in terms of risk and risk tolerance is there is no risk, and you have a guaranteed path to success where I think most people, and including myself when I was younger, I thought you had to take risks to get that net result, that retirement kind of nest egg that we're all hoping for. I didn't realize there was another way. And so you put your money in risky investments. You're like all equities. It's not an equity bond mix, and you're swinging for the fences and you're hoping, and then eventually you keep missing because that was my case. You keep missing, and then the pressure builds.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to take more risk because your
Right.
time frame is starting to shorten. So yeah,
Mm.
risk tolerance is how much stress, how much chance of failure are you willing to take in order to hopefully achieve this higher return?
Right. Yeah. And Rob, earlier you were talking about kind of this push towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies where if you're severely uneducated in that type of market, you can get really hurt
Really
very
hurt.
quickly. I mean, I've lost thousands of dollars at that um, because I was simply just uneducated, didn't realize what I didn't know. And what that has done is, that was, 3, 4 years worth of saving that got washed away. And
Hmm.
now, as you're saying, it's like, okay, I've lost that time. I can't get that time back, or I can't get that capital back. Um, and so now what it's going to it could force me into not learning from that mistake and taking on additional risk or even increasing the amount of risk that I was taking on. Maybe using margin trading or something like that, going
Hmm.
into debt, having to fund these investments in order to try
Yeah.
to get back to where I should have been or could have been if I had a different strategy in place. Try to get whatever those goals might have been 30, 40 years from now. I have to adjust my time preference.
Yep.
And in so doing, I'm taking on more risk in order to do it. So, yeah, John, what are your thoughts about kind of this idea of risk and what is some of the values or what is so valuable to us when we're practicing IBC in relationship to this?
Yeah, I think it's important to define risk. And I'm curious if y'all would have a different definition, but the way I see risk is the chance of actual loss, right? Like your what is your and anyone I ask this, like what is your appetite for losing money?
Mhm.
If you put it that way, like I know lots of kind of conventional CFPs and advisors out there will say, okay, what's your risk tolerance? Is it
Right.
low, medium, or high? It's like, first off, what does low, medium, high even mean? Like,
Right.
Right.
I want to lose, like, I never want to lose money. So,
Right.
uh, but I also really want to do well. So, like, I remember personally, I was in a conversation like that with someone who was trying to help me before I discovered IBC. And I just remember thinking, like, this is absurd. This is just an absurd line of questioning
Mhm.
where I don't want to lose money. I want to be successful and reach this like end goal that, like you're talking about, Rob, that most Americans have this kind of like in the clouds nest egg thought.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
and that's where it's like, okay, go back to first principles and definitions. Like, what is your appetite for losing money? And I hope the answer for everybody in this listening to this and anybody is zero. Like, I don't want to lose money. Warren
Right.
Buffett is the master of this because he understands not only like the short-term effect of losing money, but the long-term opportunity cost that you just
Yeah.
lost from even just losing like 0.2%, right? Um, and particularly thinking about like, say you were to retire on, a completely invested portfolio in the year 2000, right? And your $1 million goes to 700,000. It's
Hmm.
like just to even recover from that, you have
Yep.
to get like a 50% return. And then, oh, by the way, it goes down 2 more years. It's like, are you okay with losing money? I know most people say, oh, well, over the long term, it's going to work out. It's fine.
Hmm.
But I question often, like, does that in reality work out? And I think that the statistics are very clear that most 401k kind of conventional ways of doing things doesn't result in success. Like the average 401k balance for retirees is around, I think it's like 180,000 last I checked, which does not seem enough for someone to live off of for the
No.
rest of their lives, right? So that just that adds more stress that it really affects your lifestyle, not necessarily the dollars in your pocket. Like it affects your peace of mind, your lifestyle, the way you can show up for others. And so also what you're talking about, Rob, is having that direction and having that vision, uh,
Hmm.
and having clarity on that. I think that's one of our primary lines of questioning is not what's your tolerance for risk. It's where do you want to go? Like how clear are you on your vision, and do you know that you're going to actually end up there, perhaps in a guaranteed fashion, right? And that you're protected all along the way. So I get super passionate about it because I just think the conventional way of approaching this type of question is at its core fundamentally flawed. Uh,
Hmm.
Right. And John,
question.
I just your like conversation about there that just kind of made me think, you know what? That is literally a question I've never asked a client. How much risk are you willing to take?
Yeah.
How much money are you willing to lose? Because that's not even in the equation. You're guaranteed to not lose money. That's, is that just really struck me there as you're talking about that's literally never, that's not even a conversation. My conversations are, how can we generate the most amount of guaranteed cash flow per month for you? And let's figure that out together without taking any risk.
Yeah.
It's a totally different paradigm, a
Yeah.
much better paradigm to be in.
Yeah, I think most investors, they're obviously trying to gain a positive return.
Hmm.
And then second to that, they want a consistent return. And then third, ideally, it's a guaranteed return.
Hmm.
And those are all things that can happen with a properly designed life insurance policy, and using these insurance products to help give you that sense of stability and security. I
Right.
was thinking, not too long ago, just a couple months ago, just seeing this trend of people buying businesses, mom and pop shops, privately held businesses in local communities, and using 90% SBA loans at 12, 13% interest to
Mm.
try to cash flow this business and generate a return. And I was just thinking, I was like, well, you have to put up a personal guarantee, and you're going to have some other collateral, such as your house. Um, Maybe they'll have to garnish wages if you're not able to service the SBA loan. It's like how much for 10 years I'm going to have sleepless nights if I'm going to
Mm.
buy this business. Just to even just maintain where it is at, not much, and not even thinking about how am I going to grow this business, even though there's been an entrepreneur who's owned this thing for 30 years and he's worked this far just to get it to this point. What am I going to do to try to add more value on top of that? And
Mm.
how secure do I think of myself and my abilities to do that? It's just, to your point, John, it's like um, how much loss am I willing to absorb? Because if I can't service that SBA loan, man, I am going to have a world of hurt for decades to come. And it's not only going to affect me, my wife, my kids, it's going to affect generations potentially, if I'm not able to accurately determine the amount of risk profile that I want to take on. So, thinking about that, guys, and just leverage as it relates to this risk, leverage kind of working both ways. Isn't it interesting how we're seeing many successful investors kind of run towards or see more value just in consistent cash flow? I'm thinking of the ultra wealthy just buying up land, farmland in particular, timberland, just anything that generates consistent monthly or annual cash flow, bonds generating returns, options trading, just this idea of, hey, I think there's a sense where people see the publicly traded companies kind of being more overvalued, and we're seeing this pivot towards consistent, reliable returns is very, very important to keeping you afloat. So what's your guys' take on that, and how can IBC kind of uh, help us in that pursuit of those consistent returns?
Yeah, I relate it to singles and doubles.
Yeah.
Most MLB teams, and I'm not an MLB expert, but I played baseball growing up, and most coaches are not going to say every single batter, every single time, swing for the fences. That's just not a good strategy, right?
Mm-mm.
Um, get people on base, like set up, a good strategy moving forward, and you're more likely to get the single or double, and it's likely to benefit you more, right? So, in those kind of cash flowing conservative investments that you're talking about, Derek, there is just so much more to it than just the rate of return number that they're probably looking at,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Again, especially once you reach the mountaintop and maybe you're an ultra high net worth person, like their primary concern, as far as I know and what I've researched, is not how to earn more and how to make more, home runs. They're just trying not to lose money. Like they're just trying to be, good stewards of what they have made,
Yeah.
earn on it, and protect it as best as possible. And it just so happens that life insurance is a huge piece of how the high net worth individuals and family offices
Mm-hmm.
incorporate into their whole strategy. So I just think those like singles and doubles, anytime I'm looking at an investment, and for me, I pretty much only look outside of public equities. I'm just thinking to myself, singles, doubles, don't lose money. Like have
Mm-hmm.
that philosophy, have that criteria, the vetting and so forth, so that you're not in a bind or urgently looking for some sort of home run, but you know with just a greater degree of certainty that it's going to fit like your overall approach to investing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Sorry, Rob, before you jump in here, sticking to that baseball analogy, if you met a baseball player who batted 1,000 and just got a base hit every time, just got a single, he'd be the greatest baseball player of all time.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's the pursuit that I would encourage. And it's a good encouragement to me just thinking about, yeah, just get on base. So go
Yeah.
ahead, Rob.
Yeah. I was just going to add on to the singles and doubles. Also, one of the sets of tools that we have access to are these really kind of high-end financial calculators that factor in opportunity cost and the impact of taxes over time and et cetera. But when you are swinging for the fences and you have a loss, that loss at the moment hurts, right? That hurts, that loss. But what I've been able to see, and we have been able to see, when you plug those losses into a calculator that factors out that opportunity loss, the opportunity cost of that loss over time, it exponentially magnifies that loss.
Yeah.
And so if you could just continue to hit singles and doubles, just play it smart and safe, and early cash value whole life insurance policies like we design, infinite banking style policies, they have really good internal rates of return that get even better when you factor in the tax savings. And if you can just stretch that out and you get a death benefit, right? And it's creditor protected and it's uninterrupted compounding and it's guaranteed. And it's like the list of benefits is like this long. If you could just do that and do it consistently over 30, 40, 50 years, you will have hit the home run, but you've done it really slowly, guaranteed over time.
Yeah.
That's the epiphany moment for me when 7 years ago when I saw that all I have to do is pay premium and be an honest banker with my cash value, and it's a guaranteed home run, and then I can bless my children and my grandchildren and myself throughout that whole period. It's why wouldn't you do it,
Yeah.
folks? take the smart way. I'd rather get a return of my money than a return on my money, especially when you can guarantee it to grow over time and have all those other benefits at the same time. It's like it's such a smart approach.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. I was thinking of an author, I forget his name now, but the book is Rule One Investing. And he's kind of more this Warren Buffett style investor, kind of patient capital. And the interesting thing is they run to bonds and options to generate income while they're waiting to buy these businesses that they say go on sale, or buy when there's blood in the streets. I'm sure you've heard that before. And the interesting thing about that is those bond mixes, or when you're purchasing bonds, they are still a potential for that drawdown, but we can get and exceed bond-like returns inside of a IBC policy without the risk of the drawdown.
Right.
And it's allowed me to remain patient. And so this is the coupling of, I can utilize those policy loans when I see a double when it comes up, but I know I'm getting a single. Or I can utilize those policy loans maybe 1 out of 10 times and try to go for the home run. But because I've got that great foundation, that stability, the control, the bond-like returns with better tax treatment, the zero risk of drawdowns on my accounts, this is so great for that style of investor who's willing to remain patient and to seek out those opportunities, or better yet, those opportunities will come and find you when they realize, hey, this person's got some capital that they'd like to put to work, when it's really the best time to do it. So, guys, any other thoughts about, that idea of trying to go to bonds as that source of security when things kind of get a little foggy in the market?
Not necessarily on the bond front. I was going to just maybe relate this overall journey that we have over our adult lives, maybe to the tortoise and the hare, or just like running a race. Like I'm training for a marathon right now, and just thinking over, like, constantly while I'm training, of like, should I start slow and then speed up, or should I start fast and then just, have whatever left in the tank, or be steady the whole way? And, a very easy analogy is the tortoise and the hare, where it's like, you could get a home run year 1 and 2, and then just like relax and do nothing and lose money probably. And meanwhile, like, maybe a lot of us IBC tortoises are moving along. We're like steady, on pace, on track. And then what's even better about the analogy is, like, you can be the tortoise and then find a really good opportunity along the way, leverage your steady path, and accelerate even better. And so anyone who's just erratic in their pacing and in their on their journey, as they get closer and closer to the end, they probably feel more and more pressure to swing for the fences every time and try to catch up from what was otherwise lost along the way.
Right.
You don't have to do that if you're just on track, on pace, maybe getting some amplifications and accelerations along the way. It's just a really peaceful way to go about it. Not like
exactly
stressed the whole time.
All right. Well, with that, we just want to say thank you again to our listeners. If you wouldn't mind, like, share, subscribe once more to the Family Banking Show, as we're seeking to grow this channel and to help more and more families throughout the entire United States. If you're interested in learning more about us, finding out how you can get started with your own family banking policy, reach out to us at thefamilybankingshow@gmail.com, and we would be delighted to help you and your family. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. If you're interested in a conversation about anything we've discussed, you can find our contact information in the show notes below.
And subscribe, follow, and leave a review to help spread this message and to help families across the country discover the generational blessing of IBC. May God bless you, and we'll see you next time.